Or as we're going to attempt March 2025. So the first question is, uh, yeah. Mhm. Which statement about market economy is not correct? So the first option we have here, competition is promoted among firms which can increase productive efficiency. Now it is correct about market economy because there is a lot of competition and free market producers competing with each other. Second one is immobility of FOPs can lead to allocative inefficiency. Do you know what allocative efficiency is?
When uh,
I cannot
businesses
I cannot hear
just
you.
can you hear me now, sir?
Wait. Speak again, say something.
Hello, can you hear me?
I still can't hear you.
Okay, one minute. What about now?
Yeah, I can now. So you know what allocative and productive efficiency is?
Yes, sir.
So
How
productive
efficient the
efficiency means
business?
to operate at the lowest possible cost that a firm can. It is the lowest
Mm-hmm.
point of average total cost. And allocative
Yeah.
efficiency means that there is no market failure going on. There is no external cost or external benefit.
Okay.
So immobility of FOPs can lead to allocative inefficiency. If your factors of production are immobile, then yes, there is a possible chance that there can be allocative inefficiency and there can be external cost and external benefit there in economy. So yes, this is also one of the statements that is correct about market economy. Price always reflects all the cost and all the benefit associated with production. Now you see, when we talk about market economy, we're talking about private individuals, private consumers and private consumers who do not care about external cost and external benefit. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if I'm a producer, I will not care about society that if my production is leading to inflation, I don't care about. All right. So this is not a correct statement because the price does not reflect external cost and external benefit associated with the production. All right. The entrepreneur is encouraged to innovate, take risks, motivated by profit. Yes, this is the correct answer. The answer is C. To increase production, a firm in industry X needs to install capital equipment, while a firm in country Y needs to research and introduce a new technology. What time periods are illustrated by these cases? Now, a firm that is in industry X, it needs to install capital equipment. It needs to go for capital equipment. And for company Y, he needs to research and build a new technology, introduce a new technology. You see, there are three cases: short run, long run, and very long run. So in short run, factors of productions are fixed. All right.
Mm-hmm.
In long run, FOPs are variable, which means that you can buy a machine, you can buy a new land, you can go towards a new land, you can do anything at any time. So your FOPs are variable. In very long run, we have technological advancement. We have technological advancement. So industry X is buying a new capital, that is long run, and industry Y is introducing a new technology, it is very long run. So the answer is C. This is a production possibility curve for pears and apples. Which pair of positions identifies an efficient and an inefficient outcome? So we have to look for something that is efficient and inefficient outcome. All right. So W and Y, they are both inefficient. They are both inefficient because W is inside PPC and Y is outside PPC.
Okay.
All right. So they are both wrong. W and X. Yes, W is inefficient and X is efficient. So this could be correct. Now X and Z are both efficient. They are both efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So it is still wrong. And Y and Z. Y and Z, which pair of position identifies an efficient and an inefficient outcome? So in Y and Z, you see Y is outside your PPC. You can never reach Y. Alright, you can never reach
Yeah.
Y. So that's why it is wrong. Answer is B.
Okay.
The price of a good rises by 5% and quantity demanded rises by 3%. Alright. At the same time, income of consumer of the good rises by 4%. The law of demand appears not to be working in this case. What is most likely explanation? Now we have to break it down. Law of demand states that if your price rises, your quantity demand will fall. Alright. This is PED. Oh, sorry, this is normal
Okay.
demand law. But in this case, your price is rising by 5% and your demand is rising by 3%. Now, I'm not reading the options right now, but the possible scenario
Mm-hmm.
here can be that, for example, Pepsi's price is rising by 10% and Coke's price is rising by 15%. So, what is the best possible option for me to still buy Pepsi? Because Pepsi is still cheaper than Coke. So, this could be one of the reasons why this is happening, that the price level and quantity demanded are rising at the same time. At the same time, the income of consumer of the good rises by 4%. Your income level is rising by 4% as well. What is most likely explanation? The first option is other things did not remain equal, because we are tackling three to four things at the same time. Your price is changing,
Yeah.
your demand is rising. There is a chance that that the substitute good is has increased its price by a larger percentage. Like the example I gave you for Coke and Pepsi, there can be that scenario as well. At the same time, your income level is changing as well. This means that all the other factors are working together. We are not holding anything constant. All right. So the first option is other
Yeah.
things did not remain equal, which we learn in ceteris paribus. That apart from one variable factor, all other factors are constant. But in this case, other factors are not constant. They are not equal. So this can be one of the answers, that it is changing. It is not equal. The
Mm-hmm.
demand for the good was price inelastic. There is no explanation about it, that if the PED was inelastic or not, and uh, because in a PED we have to follow the law of demand. In this case, we are not following the law of demand. The quantity is rising. The real price of the good fell. Real price of the good fell. Real price means adjusted with inflation, but your price level is rising by 5%, so your price is not falling. The time period was very short run. No, the answer is A. When is division of labor most likely to be effective in a large market with stable demand? Yeah, it can be true. It can be true, because if you are operating in a large market and demand is constant, demand is stable, you have to work the way you always do. There will be uniformity in your work. There will be a better, there will be increase in quality in your final product. So this can be true. Option B, in a market where consumers prefer a handmade product over a product made using machines. I mean, there is no sense of this option, according to the question, that people are preferring handmade product over machine. No, this is wrong.
Yeah.
In a market where consumers require a variety of good, specialization or division of labor will be ineffective there. Reason being that in variety of good, you need to learn different skills. You need to know how things work. So this is a bit difficult for a worker with a specialized skill set, that he can produce different goods and services, different variety of goods. In a small market where consumers require a custom made product, again, it is not necessary that if even if you are asking for a custom made product, we follow division of labor law. So it will be beneficial. Division of labor will only be effective in a market where there is continuous work going on, where there is stable demand. What will influence the value of PES of a good? What is one of the factors that affect your PES of the good? A level of producer surplus. Level of producer surplus has nothing to do with PES for the time being. It is not one of the factors. A time period under consideration. Yes, short run, long run time period. The total income spent on the good. It is linked with PED, not PES. Whether the good is a necessity. Again, this is PED. So the answer is B.
Yes.
The diagram represents market for a good, which statement is correct. OX. OX represents the price above which no producer wishes to stay in the market. Now you see it is not OX. It is not OX. OZ is the price above which no producer wishes to stay in the market, because this is your producer surplus is least amount that a producer is willing to accept. So the first option is
Yeah.
wrong. OX is the current market price level. All right. OZ represents minimum price consumers are prepared to pay. No. OZ represents minimum price a producer is willing to accept. PYZ represents consumer surplus. It is saying P, Y, and Z. This represents consumer surplus. Wrong. This is the area of consumer surplus. All right. XYZ represents producer surplus. Yes, this is the correct answer. X, Y, and Z represents producer surplus. The diagram shows the impact on equilibrium due to an increase in the cost of production. The original price is 72. The PED is -2. All right. What is the new equilibrium price of P2? What is the new equilibrium price? Now, we have to calculate PED. We have to calculate the price level according to PED. It's very simple. Let's first calculate percentage change in demand. Percentage change in quantity is new minus old over old multiplied by 100. So it's 80, it's 25%. All right. So it's 25%.
Mhm.
Now we will use the formula of PED. PED is equals to percentage change in quantity demand over percentage change in price. All right. The PED that we have is -2 is equals to 25% over X. So 25 divided by 2 means that the price level is rising by 12.5%. X percentage change in price is equals to 25% divided by 2, that is 12.5%. So your price level is rising by 12.5%. 72 into 12.5%, it's 9. So 72 plus 9, 72 into 12.5% is equals to 9. So 72 plus 9 is equals to 81. Your answer is A. Clear, Kaylin?
Mhm. Uh, yes, sir.
9. What is likely to have a greater effect on an individual demand curve than on a market demand curve? So we are talking about what will affect individual demand curve instead of market demand curve. Now, changing weather patterns, it will affect both of them. It will affect both of them. Government policy to promote consumption, again, it will affect individual market both. Growth in population, it will affect both as well. More expensive substitute. More expensive substitute will affect individual or market, cannot affect both at the same time, have a greater effect on individual. Because if we have substitutes available in the market, for example, for let's say mobile phone, we have substitutes for mobile phone in the market. All right. So for mobile phone, iPhone's separate demand curve will be affected, because in mobile phone, we are calculating all the mobile phones, Samsung, iPhone, Oppo, Vivo, and all that. But individually, they are all competitors, and this will affect their individual demand. So this is correct answer. The quantity demanded of a product is given. QD is equals to 400 minus 10p, where p is the price in dollars. Supply of the product is fixed at $100. If the price is 20, what will be the position in the market? All right. What will be the position in the market? So let's first calculate the formula. Oh, sorry. Let's first complete the equation. 400 minus 10p, 20. So 400 minus 200, your demand is 200. Your demand is 200. So we have been given supply here. Supply is 100, demand is 200. This means that your demand is greater than supply, resulting in shortage. So if it's shortage, it will be disequilibrium. It will be a disequilibrium with excess demand of 100 units. All right, it's a shortage of 100 units. A decrease in quantity demand for a product results in proportionate decrease in sales revenue. All right. So what is true about PED? A decrease in quantity demand of a product results in proportionate decrease. Which PED has a positive relationship between demand and revenue? That was perfectly elastic. Perfectly elastic. So PEDs is infinite. A government may use a range of methods to intervene in a market to affect both demand and supply. What is a method which will shift demand curve for a good? Alright, so which will affect demand curve for a good? This will affect supply. This will affect supply. This will affect supply. This will affect demand. We'll shift it rightwards. To help achieve price stability, the government in country F operates a buffer stock scheme with minimum price of P1 and maximum price of P2. Now the maximum price is here. All right, this is maximum price and this is minimum price. The current demand and supply curve in the market is shown. What should the government do to ensure the scheme is effective? What should government do to make sure that the scheme is effective? Now, the maximum price is ineffective because it is imposed above the equilibrium and minimum price is effective. All right. By an amount equal to GH. By an amount equal to GH. First of all, the maximum it is maximum price, and second of all, it is ineffective. So no need to buy GH. By an amount KJ. By an amount KJ. Government has to buy this much amount. No. By an amount LJ. From here to here. All the surplus amount that we have. Yes, this is correct. Do nothing as the equilibrium price is below P1. Wrong. Why is it more difficult to quantify the wealth of an individual rather than income? Because income is based on a monthly basis, on monthly basis or yearly basis, and wealth is based on the overall the income, the overall assets that we have throughout our lives. All right. So a skilled artist may keep a painting in stock whose value increases after their death. It is easy. I mean, if I have an asset, if I have a machine, for example, and the value of that machine is increasing every year, so it will not be difficult to quantify that wealth of mine. So this is wrong. Individuals can choose to spend all available income, leaving wealth unchanged. Yes, it is their choice. Now, for example, if I live in a home, $1 million home, and I have a 1 million rupee, I can spend my 1 million rupee, and still the value of my home will be unaffected. So it will not change. Not every form of individual wealth can be traded for money in a market. Yes, this is the problem. This is the problem. Because we have goodwill, that is one of the assets that we have. Goodwill, which means that the name, that the value of the brand. Now I can sell my brand for any value I want. All right, because my estimation will be different, buyer's estimation will be different, so there can be this problem. Wealth is a stock which cannot be broken down into individuals different assets. Not at all. I have different assets, they have different values, so I can calculate my wealth accordingly. Table shows Gini coefficient in 3 countries for income in 3 countries. All right, what can we calculate from this data? All 3 countries have seen an overall improvement in income equality. It is saying that all the countries that we have in front of us have improved their income equality. Now, if I talk about countries such as uh, Costa Rica, Gini coefficient is rising in Costa Rica. Gini coefficient is rising in Costa Rica. If Gini coefficient in Costa Rica was falling, then this would have been a correct answer. But Gini coefficient is rising, so this is not a correct answer. Costa Rica has the highest level of consumer income of all 3 countries. We do not have any sort of information like that. New Zealand's income inequality worsened between 2018 and 2020. New Zealand's income inequality improved throughout. Sweden's economy has the highest income equality of all 3. Why? Because their Gini coefficient is very low. Sweden's Gini coefficient is very low as compared to the other two countries. So the answer is D. Government may have price stability as macroeconomic objective. What is meant by price stability? Price stability means that we are not having any fluctuations in our price level for a longer period of time. So all equilibrium prices are maintained in the long run. No. Demand pull inflation cancels out cost push inflation. No. Only disinflation is present in economy in the long run. No. Prolonged period of inflation and deflation are avoided, which means that there are stable prices going on in the market for a period of time. All right. In country X, frictional unemployment has decreased, but in country T, structural unemployment has increased. What would be a possible explanation for these changes? So in country X, reduction in job search time. This will reduce frictional unemployment. All right. As for country T, real wage rates are flexible. Now, what do this statement has to do with structural unemployment? There is no link between the fluctuations in wage rate or flexibility in the wage rate with structural unemployment. Structural unemployment occurs uh, when there is a huge economic downturn, or when machines replace workers. All of the workers are being affected. So, being wages being flexible has nothing to do with structural unemployment. More job vacancy on website. Yes, this will reduce frictional unemployment. Closure of several large mining firms. Yes, this will increase structural unemployment. Unemployment benefits have decreased. Uh, Unemployment benefits have decreased, so workers will find jobs. All right. Fall in economic growth. Economic growth failure will result in structural. All right. With these two are basic points. Unemployment benefits have increased. People will stop looking for job. Worker skills do not match available job. This is right. Now for option C, unemployment benefits have decreased. People will start looking for jobs. All right. People will start looking for jobs, but again, there is a benefit of doubt that people might do. It is not necessary that people go on and start doing jobs. All right. So that is why the answer is B.
Okay.
The diagram shows aggregate demand and long run aggregate supply with X as an initial equilibrium. This is our initial equilibrium. Which combination of policy and new final equilibrium point is correct? Increase in direct taxes. Increase in direct taxes will shift it leftwards like this. So the point should be J, but we have F here. So this is wrong. All right. Increase in government
Mm.
spending. Aggregate demand will shift upwards like this. All right. And also, if government is spending on infrastructure, this will affect supply as well. So your supply will shift rightwards as well. So what should be your new point? Your new point should be G. So this could be correct. Appreciation of exchange rate will cause aggregate demand to fall because your exports will fall. So again, you need to come to J, but here it is H. Decrease interest rate will increase aggregate demand like this, and you will reach to F. But option here states J. So this is wrong as well. Answer is B. All right. Give me a second.
All right.
All right. Moving towards 19. The money income of a country rises by 10%, whereas its population falls by 10% during a year. What is likely to happen to the national income per head? Now, 19 is saying that your country the income of your country is rising by 10%, whereas the population is falling by 10%. So we need to calculate GDP per capita. GDP per capita is equals to GDP over population. All right. Now, your GDP is rising by 10%, whereas your population is falling by 10%. So your GDP per capita should increase. All right, it should increase. But by how much should it increase? Now, let's take a calculation as an example. Now, for example, your GDP per capita is 100. All right, 100 is equals to
Okay.
your GDP currently is 100 and your population is 100 as well. Now, if I increase my GDP by 10%, that is 110, and reduce my population by 10%, that will be 90. So 110 divided by 90. 110 divided by 90. This will give me an amount of 1.22, which means 1.22 means that 1.22 means that your GDP is rising by 22%. By how much it is rising? 22%. Because at this stage, your GDP would have been 1. GDP per capita is 1. And now your GDP per capita is 1.22. So 1.22 means that it is rising by 22%. So it will rise more than 20%. Clear?
Yes, sir. Okay.
High economic growth is often accompanied by a worsening of the current account of the balance of payment, which reason for this trend is not valid. All right. So it is saying that if you are having economic growth in your economy, this will worsen out your current account of the balance of payment, which reason for this trend is not valid. Economic growth raises domestic consumption, leaving very little to sell to overseas consumers. Now, in this case, domestic consumption leaving very little to sell overseas consumer, which reason for trend is not valid. Is not valid. All right. What is not valid? So yeah, if you will sell less, if you will export less, if you will export less, so your current account will worsen out. So this is correct. Yes. Economic growth raises domestic output, leading to lower prices and more price comparative goods both at home and abroad. This will improve your current account. So this is not correct. Economic growth raises incomes and lead to rising demand for foreign goods. Again, your imports are rising here. So your current account will fall. So this is correct as well. Economic growth results in rising requirements of input from other countries. So economic growth results in rising requirements of input. Yeah, so you'll import more raw material from abroad. This will also affect your current account again. So your answer is B. A government cuts income tax. Why might this be seen as an example of a supply side policy? Real income are increased. No, this is a demand side policy. Your real income will increase. The cost of business are reduced. Now see, they are reducing income tax, not cost of production tax. They're not indirect taxes, because indirect taxes are linked with cost of production, not income taxes. So this is a wrong answer. Opportunity cost of unemployment has increased. Why? Because if income taxes are reduced, people will have to pay a lower tax than before. So when they have to pay a
Yeah.
lower tax than before, they will be motivated to work because majority of income is coming back to their home for now. So they will start working and start looking for jobs, which will result in an increase in supply of workers. So your supply of worker will increase, leading to one of the examples of supply side policy. The standard of living has improved. No. Which combination of fiscal policy measures will reduce both inflation rate and income inequality? We have to reduce inflation, so we have to increase direct taxes. All right. And we have to decrease indirect taxes because we have to reduce income inequality, and we need to give subsidies on food and all that. So the answer is C. A country's central bank decides to reduce the level of credit regulation. All right, what is an example of this? So they are reducing They are reducing regulations on loans. In easy form, they are trying to reduce interest rate. All right. So what is an example of this? Anything that is linked with money supply and interest rate is a form of monetary policy. But again, we are reducing the regulation. So we are making it easier
Mm-hmm.
for consumers to get loan. So this will be expansionary
Yeah.
monetary policy.
Okay.
A government decides to use supply side policy to increase long run aggregate supply. What is the most likely reason why this policy tool will not lead to fall in the price level? It will not lead to fall in the price level. Aggregate demand also increases. Aggregate demand also increases. Now, let me draw the diagram. This is your LRAS, all right, and this is your aggregate demand AD. This is your current price, and this is your current GDP. Now, if your LRAS is rising, but at the same time your aggregate demand is rising as well, so it will not affect your price. Your price will stay the same, whereas your GDP level will rise. All right. So we need to find something that will not lead to a fall in price. All right. This is not decreasing the price. The price level is same. So this can be correct. Labor productivity level has increased. So if labor productivity level has increased and aggregate demand is same, this is LRAS, your aggregate demand, this is your price level. All right. Your aggregate demand is same, but your LRAS is rising. This will lead to a fall in price level. This will lead to a fall in price level. So we have to find something that will not lead to a fall in price level. Workers will save any extra wages they earn. So this will reduce aggregate demand. This will reduce aggregate demand. The saving is increasing. So aggregate demand will fall,
Mm-hmm.
leading to a decrease in prices. Worker will spend any extra wages on import. Again, aggregate demand will fall, leading to a decrease in price. So, oh, this is wrong as well. This is wrong as well. So the answer is A.
Okay.
What defines progressive tax? High income earners have to pay a higher amount of tax. Low income earners have to pay a lower amount of tax. So all taxpayers pay the same proportion. Wrong. Low income earners pay lower proportion of income and taxes than high income. Yes, the answer is B. Low income earners pay less in taxes. Not see how examiner plays. In option B, he has written the term
Mm-hmm.
proportion, which means percentage. All right. And
Yeah.
in direct taxes, we focus on proportion, that is percentage. But in option C, he has only written taxes, which means amount. So student gets
Okay.
confused. Sir, they are both the same answers. No, they are not. Because in option B, you're talking about percentage. In option C, you're talking about amount. All right. So they are both different.
Okay,
Low
sure.
income earners pay more in taxes than high income. No. Answer is B. Country X trades with Y. What are the terms of trade for country X? So what are the terms of trade of country X? Average price of country X is export divided by average price of country X. Country Y's exports. No. For country X, it will be export price over import price for country X only, not any other country. The ratio of an index of country X is export price to an index of import price. Yes. Value of export, value of import, wrong. When is a country's exchange rate most likely to fall? It falls when either your demand decreases or when your supply increases. So these are the two options that you have. When its current account surplus exceeds that of its trading partner. So which means that my current account surplus, Pakistan's current account surplus is in 10 million and India's current account surplus is in 8 million. So it doesn't have to do anything with my exchange rate. It will not affect my exchange rate by any means. All right. So we're talking about something that will decrease our exchange rate. When its inflation rate exceeds its trading partner, correct. Because if my inflation rate is high, my exports will fall and my imports will rise. So this is correct. When its interest rate exceeds its trading partner, no. Why? Because if your interest rate is higher than your trading partner, people living
Mm-hmm.
in other countries will start saving in your country. All right. So this will increase
Okay.
demand of your currency, whereas we have to decrease demand. When its unemployment rate exceeds its trading partner, nothing to do with unemployment. Answer is B. A country experiences a rising trade deficit and a current account surplus at the same time. Which combination of events might explain this? So they're saying that you have a rising trade deficit, which means that your import is greater than your export, and a current account surplus. And a current account surplus. Current account surplus is in the current account overall is in surplus, but you have rising trade deficit, which means that your primary and secondary income must be very high. That is why your overall current account is in surplus. So which combination of event might explain this? Global recession resulting in decreased price for commodities. So if your prices are falling, your exports should increase, right? Why are they less than your imports? This is wrong. Increase subsidies for exporters. Again, your export should increase. Removal of restrictions on import. Yes, because import will rise. Removal of restriction on the remittance of profit of foreign owned producers. So, removal of restriction on the remittance of profit of foreign owned producers. This means that we are allowing the producers operating in Pakistan, the multinationals operating in Pakistan, to send money to their home country. So this will reduce your current account. This will not increase your current account. Rising import of machinery to help export, yes, because it is trade in good, it will be in deficit. Increase secondary income from workers living abroad, Pakistani workers living abroad sending remittance back to Pakistan. This will increase current account. All right. So this will reduce your balance of trade and this will increase your current account. Answer is D.
Okay.
The diagram shows production possibility curve for barley and wheat in countries Q and R. What can be concluded? Now we have to calculate absolute and comparative advantage. It is very general for country Q that it has both, it has absolute advantage in both of them. We have to calculate comparative advantage. So first, let's calculate barley is to wheat. Barley is to wheat. We have country R and we have country Q. So barley will be our denominator for both of them. Now let's take the ratio 20 over 60 and 80 over 80. So the ratio for country R is for barley is to wheat 20 over 60. It's 1 is to 0.33, whereas for country Q it's 1 is to 1. Now let's take wheat is to barley, country R and country Q. For wheat is to barley, the ratio will go on like 60 over 20 and 80 over 80. So it is 1 is to 3, it is 1 is to 1. So for barley, we have country Y, country R, and for wheat we have country Q. All right. Now let's take a look at the answers. The comparative advantage. All right. So country Q has a comparative advantage in the production of barley. First option is country Q has a comparative advantage in the production of barley. Wrong. Country R has a comparative advantage in the production of barley. Country Q has an absolute advantage in producing both goods. Yes, this could be correct because it is producing both goods by a higher amount. Country R has an absolute advantage in production of barley. Wrong. Country R has no sort of absolute advantage. There is no comparative advantage. Wrong. They both have comparative advantage in one of the goods. So the answer is B.
Okay.
Diagram shows impact of government introducing an export subsidy for its domestic producers of oil. All right. What will be the effect of this export subsidy on the operation of the domestic market? So if government is giving subsidies to export oriented firms, how will this affect our domestic market? Let's read the options. Domestic output of oil will increase by 15 million units. Domestic, this is your domestic supply and domestic demand. All right. So this is our initial equilibrium quantity, initial equilibrium units. And after subsidy, this is the basic equilibrium that is our market is in. So the first option that we have is domestic output of oil will increase by 15 million units. All right. The second option is imports of oil will decrease by 25 million units. Import of oil will decrease by 25 million units. All right. Third option is domestic price of oil will decrease by $28. Domestic price will decrease by $28 and the domestic price of oil will increase by $8. Now, listen to me. Let's draw a diagram here. This is your domestic demand. This is your domestic supply. This should have been your domestic price level and equilibrium quantity. All right. Price, quantity, domestic supply, and domestic demand. So this is your world supply for the time being. All right. This is your world supply. And this is the amount that you are importing. This is the amount that you are importing from abroad. All right. And according to this diagram, the values include 35, 20, and how much? 60. All right. This is the just basic step, the first step of this diagram, world supply. Now, the first option is domestic output of oil will increase by 15 million. Now, if there is an increase in supply, if there is an increase in supply, if there is an increase in subsidy given to me by government, this will increase my supply rightwards like this. This will shift it rightwards like this. All right. So the new equilibrium quantity is 50. The new equilibrium quantity is 50. This is 50. But the problem is, look here. The problem is in this diagram that this is the world supply, right? This is the world supply. In the diagram of tariff or protectionism and import and export, we do not look at the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. We look at the amount that I am importing or I am exporting. So in this scenario,
Okay.
the first option is saying that this was your equilibrium quantity now, then, and this is your equilibrium quantity now, and it is increasing by 15 million. But how is it increasing by 15 million? At this price level, your supply is this, all right, and at this price level, there will always be disequilibrium. There will always be disequilibrium. So domestic output of oil will increase by 15 million units. It is not correct. It is not correct that it will increase by 15 million because consumers are not consuming that oil that is being produced. All right. Option number B, import of oil will decrease by 25 million. Let's take a look at the diagram again. So initially, this was your import that was of around 40 million. Your import was for 40. All right, 40 million was your import. And now, how much are you importing after the imposition of subsidy? This is the amount that you are importing. That is 15. That is 15. So 40 minus 15, that leaves me with 25. So my import will fall by 25 million units. So yeah, this can be correct. This can be correct. Other options, the domestic price of oil will decrease by 28. Domestic price is falling by 20, not 28. Domestic price of oil will increase by 8. No, it is not increasing. So the answer is B. Everything clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, so this was all for today. See you in the next class. Take care.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You too.